Okay, so I'm gonna do this bee in a turkey loop stitch. So each band will be a different, like it'll be black or yellow. And so to start, I am just gonna do it here just so you can see it easily. And I always put a knot at the end of my thread, so make sure you put a knot at the end. And I'm just gonna do a really small stitch. And then once you've done that, you're just going to bring it up just at the top of that really small stitch you've just done. And then you're going to bring it back down and keep in a loop. So make it as long as you like, but bear in mind it's better for it to be a little bit bigger than shorter than you want it to be, because we're going to be trimming these later. So I'm going to make mine about that big. And then I'm just going to make a really small stitch over the top of that last little bit we did, just to anchor it. And then I'm going to do another biggish loop, again making it so that it roughly matches the same height as the big one again, and then anchoring the small one. Like that. And I'm just going to keep going. So you've got this sort of fringy loops like this, and then I'm just going to keep going and working my way down until I get to this line here, and then that's that section done. You'll notice that I'm keeping my finger on the loops as well. Sometimes it just helps stop them moving. Another way to check that it's definitely anchored is you can put your needle through one of the loops and pull. If it doesn't come out, then you know it's anchored really well. So you can see that it's starting to build up. So once I've trimmed that and I've filled this entire section, I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to continue and I'm going to finish this section. Okay, so now I've done that, you can see it's quite full. So you can check by moving the loops around if you've got any gaps or anything. And what I did was, the best way I would say is to work in rows across the shape, purely because you'll notice that when you start pushing it through the back, it'll get quite thick. So if you work in rows, that'll kind of help the thickness at the back a little bit. But you should have a nice little fluffy section now. So once you've done that, you're just going to cut through all the loops. So just take some really sharp scissors and start cutting through the loops. Just take your time. Be careful not to catch your fabric. Don't worry if you catch a few of the threads, because we're going to be cutting it shorter, so just so you can get the most of them. I think that's all of them. Then all you're going to want to do is just carefully trim them. And try not to cut them too short, because you can always cut them shorter later. But this is just so you can see a bit better. So what the aim is for this is to for it to look like fur. So I'm just going to cut it about that much. And then I think what I'll do is I might cut it shorter later. If you give it a nice blow, it should get rid of all the excess thread. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue filling out these sections with the yellow, black, yellow, black. You'll also notice that I've already done the wings as well. I would recommend you do that before filling out the rest of the bee, purely just because it's easier later on to, like, once you've cut it and you're doing the turkey stitch, you can just go in between these. If you didn't do the wings before filling out the rest of this bee, you might find it a bit more tricky. This was just back stitch for the wings and the blue little lines on patterns on the inside. And you'll also notice that I did just a little single French knot in the middle of the daisies. Again, this is totally optional. You don't have to do this. You can just do a few little stitches inside if you wanted to. But now I am going to continue by filling in the rest of the bee. And another little tip is when I do the next section, I'm going to just hold down those threads a little bit like that, just by pushing them up, just to keep the sections separate. So that is a turkey stitch, and now I'm going to continue with the rest. Okay, so what I've done is I've done the different sections. I found the easiest way to do it was from top to bottom, or if you want to do it bottom to top, just either way I would keep your loops as they are without cutting them, just because it makes it easier to like hold them down while you're stitching the next section. So I'm just going to do this last little bit in white, just because usually bumblebees have little white bums, so I'm just going to do this bottom section in white. And like I said before, it's best to work in rows just to keep the back from getting too thick that you can't get the needle through. So always end on an anchor as well. That just makes sure it's nice and secure. So then I am now going to cut that down. So that is my bead done. I could probably trim it a little bit more, but I think a good trick is as well is to try and lay your scissors flat against all the loops, just so then it's all even. And make sure you blow on it a lot, just so you can get all the loose like threads off. And that is my bead done. And that is a turkey loop stitch.